Alright, so it's early in the AM here. I'm getting ready to make myself an elixir for my workout, and I thought I would share the recipe with you. So, in the blender, I already have my reishi powder, my astragalus, and some hoshu wu powder. Because I wasn't sure I was actually going to make a drink, so I just took my powders, stirred them in, made a little bit of tea, and then thought, hey, you know what, I'm pretty hungry, so why don't I just make a full drink? So in here I have about 16 ounces of hot water that I mixed with about a teaspoon of each of those powders, reishi, astragalus, hoshu wu, and then I added 3 tablespoons of coconut oil and a tablespoon of honey and just some chia seeds. So that's going to be my base for this drink. Now next, I'm going to add in some really important ingredients that are really going to make this drink perform its magic. Now, a lot of my research lately has been on really hormonal health and, and endocrine health, and just really dialing in on balancing these things out. So adaptogens are a great way to do this, to have homeostasis, and sometimes we need other tools. So my tools right now have been pine pollen, which you can consume in a powder or a tincture form. And as you can see, mine is gone. That would be the last of my pine pollen, but the good news is I have more on the way. And pine pollen is really unique because it's rich in androgenic substances. Many plants are rich in estrogenic substances, but it seems to be rare that a food and a substance like pine pollen would be rich in something like androgenic, things like testosterone, androsterone, and all of these other hormones. So that's part of what makes pine pollen so unique and magical, on top of all of the nutrient density that it has, all the complete protein, the minerals, all of those things. So that's why that ingredient is in there. Plus, it's just really good. Before a workout, it seems to really help me put on lean muscle and just really be energized. So next is going to be colostrum. And that's about 2 tablespoons, that's about 4 tablespoons of colostrum. And this is really good because, as we know, colostrum is really rich in growth factors, which before working out, after working out, it's always a good time to have these growth factors. And all the amino factors and all of the just complete nutrition that's in colostrum is really going to make it pair well with these ingredients in the drink. Now next, I'm going to add some tribulus, because next I'm going to add some protein powder. And I've been doing rice for a while, and now I got some pea protein. So I'm going to do about 4 tablespoons of that, 4 heaping tablespoons, which is probably like closer to 8 tablespoons. So that's going to be about 40 to maybe 50 grams of protein in this drink, which is a really good number, and that's where I like to have my drinks most of the time. So the next ingredient is going to be tribulus. Now tribulus, from what I've researched so far, some websites are saying that it really helps with producing testosterone, and some saying that it works in other ways. But pretty much most people are concluding that it's beneficial for the endocrine system and a good adaptogen, and really can help men feel more masculine. For women, I haven't really done as much research because obviously I'm not a woman and have different needs, different desires, etc. So having tribulus in with the pine pollen, to me, feels like a really intuitive and intelligent thing to do, since pine pollen is providing some, actual hormones bioavailable, and the tribulus is really helping the body use those hormones more efficiently, effectively, and intelligently, as well as inhibiting, estrogenic things and helping the body to deal with, the influences and imbalances caused by too much estrogen in our environment, too much estrogen, being a vegan for however many years, and just all these things. So that's really the main focus of this drink, is to A, fuel me, feed me, but then also work on this endocrine system and help to balance that out. So the next ingredient I'm going to add is going to be some cacao powder. And I have my big bag, but I didn't have it with me, so I had to go to the store and buy this little bag. And I'm going to add, it's probably like 2 tablespoons there. Okay, there's 2 tablespoons. Rough measurement of the cacao powder. And next, to give this some more flavor, one of my favorite powders, one of my favorite herbs of all time, of course, is vanilla. So I'm going to add about a tablespoon of vanilla powder in there. And then lastly, to sweeten it up a bit more, because I don't like to use too much honey because I don't really want to get sugared out. So I'm going to use some stevia, about a teaspoon of just green leaf stevia powder, just to help bring up the sweetness of the drink and help to really bring out some of the other flavors. Because if I just use honey, I think it's going to be so sweet, it's going to be so intense, I'm not really going to be able to drink and enjoy it because I'm going to be up and I'm going to be down. And so I find that just using a little bit of stevia or xylitol or another non-glycemic sweetener in combination with a little bit of honey is beneficial because you get a complete sweetness profile, and you also get a little bit of blood sugar from the honey, because primarily this is going to be a lot of fat and protein in this. And for that to translate into blood sugar to actually give me immediate energy, it's going to take a little bit of digestion. So having a little bit of honey in there can help me just give me a little bit of pickup, so I'm ready to just get going, ready to get working out. And then, over time, the fat and the protein is going to kick in, and when I'm done working out, the growth factors are going to be there, and all these hormonal factors are going to be just going through my system. I'm going to be feeling great and focused and energized. So I'm going to blend this up, and I'll be back to let you know how it tastes. Alright, so here I am with the finished product. As you can see, it's nice and frothy, creamy, chocolatey. And honestly, this has a really nice, creamy, milky, chocolatey flavor from primarily the colostrum and then a little bit of cacao powder. And then the vanilla powder is coming in there. And then the tribulus is kind of salty and bitter and pungent and just kind of not very pleasant. So that whole bitterness is in there as well, which is making this drink nice and just pleasant. Because it's not too sweet. Sweet is definitely not the dominant flavor. It's definitely creamy. Creamy primarily, and then kind of balanced out on either extreme by a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of sweetness, and then just the whole floral compound from all the vanilla powder. So that's my drink. To recap, I was focusing on something before my workout, something to feed my endocrine system, something to balance my endocrine system, actually provide hormones in a bioavailable form to my endocrine system, meaning the pine pollen containing the androgenic substances, and then the tribulus with its hormone balancing, testosterone promoting properties. Now, on the pine pollen, when you're doing the powder, from what I've been researching, there's some debate, there's some skepticism going back and forth between whether or not the pine pollen powder as a dietary food is actually beneficial and effective at modulating and affecting the chemicals. So what I mean is, people are debating whether or not we can actually absorb the hormones when we actually eat them. And people think, well, okay, the stomach acid is so strong, the digestive acids are so strong, we're going to knock all that stuff down. Okay, that makes sense. So what people do is take the pine pollen powder and tincture that, and let that sit for 2 weeks to a month, pull off the powder, strain it, and then what you have left is something that's going to be effective, something that you squirt in your mouth, swish around your mouth for a few minutes, and then be able to absorb the hormones directly through the membranes in your mouth. Now, after being on pine pollen for a couple of weeks now, I think both are very effective, and just eating the powder, I feel almost an immediate pickup. I feel just a lift and a mental clarity and energy, and just maybe even a hormonal thing. So I'm not sure which is true. And I think some of the hormones are absorbed when you eat it, because I've just felt that, but definitely you notice more immediately the effects when you just take the tincture. So that's pine pollen. It's one of my favorite foods right now. I actually have about 25 pounds or so on the way to me right now, and this is a food that I'm going to add more and more into my diet and just see what happens, because the research is really awesome, really encouraging, really exciting, and it seems to be like a whole, quote, superfood that was pretty much passed over and not really, put on the map just yet. So hopefully over time we can do that, and we can bring this food out and really give it the notoriety and the namesake that it deserves. So you might think, oh, well, it's so hormonal, why would you eat it? It's weird. But other cultures, in Korea, they would sell it as just like a baking They sell like a flower in, baking shops or in like just grocery stores that people would add in as a nutritive food to their whatever they're cooking, whatever they're baking, add in as a flour. It's been used in Chinese medicine as well for thousands of years, both as a food, as a tonic, and as a medicine. Not really much use in the Ayurvedic system, and not too much use actually, over here in the West, which is strange because it's so powerful, so amazing, so beneficial, and it grows right here in America. In fact, it's pretty easy for us to find depending on where you live and the climate, and it's definitely a tonic and an adaptogen. At this point, I just wonder how we didn't really, know about this yet. So the bigger question is, how many other adaptogens and tonic herbs are just around us we haven't even really discovered yet? Whether that's from here or from other countries, South America, North America, China, Japan, Korea, Russia, all over the world, we've probably discovered just such a small amount of plants. We've cracked the code on such a small amount of history and folklore that there's probably just amazing herbs out there waiting for us right now that we haven't even yet to discover. The good news is we've discovered a lot, and they're magical and they're awesome. We get to use them, we get to make drinks out of them, we get to play with them, we get to eat them as much as we want. It's awesome. So that's my drink. If you have any questions or comments, post them below, and I'll talk to you soon.